Hello, geometry students. Today we're going to do problems where our figures are put on a coordinate grid. So our learning target is to find the area of a figure placed on a coordinate grid. And so we're going to start off with this very first example, and you'll notice that I have three of them up here because I want to talk about options we have on how we do this. So we're going to take this figure and we could look at it a number of different ways. Maybe you look at it here and you say, hey, I've got a big rectangle here. I'm going to do that rectangle first, and that's a 2 by 5 rectangle, and I could get that it equals 10. And then I can see I have a rectangle right here. So I've got a 1 by 3 rectangle, which gives me 3. I've got another little rectangle I could pull over here. So that'd be a 1 by 2 rectangle, which is 2. And right up here I have a triangle where I could say its base is 2 and its height is 1. So 1/2 base times height gives me 1. And when I add all of those up, 10 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, I get 16. Now, did you have to do it that way? No. You might have been a person who said, hey, I see vertical um, rectangles. So you might have seen this one first. You might have said, hey, I've got this big rectangle, which is got a base of 1 and a height of 5. And maybe you'd be like, okay, I've got now this whole chunk I can take off. So this one, let's see, 2 high and 4 wide. So I've got a 2 by 4 rectangle, which is 8. And maybe you like your trapezoids. You're like, you know, I've got a trapezoid here. And this base is 1, and this base is 2, and my height is sideways. So that'd be a 2. So I know my trapezoid. I add my bases and average them and take it times the height, and that ends up equaling 3. And 5 plus 8 plus 3 is 16 again. Or you might have even done it like this. You might have said, hey, I love this big trapezoid here. I'm going to start with a trapezoid where this is 3 and this is 4 and my height is 2. So I might have done 3 plus 4 divided by 2 times the height of 2. So let's see, that's, well, the 2's canceled, so that'd be just 7. And then maybe you like this rectangle here. That's a 2 by 3. So 2 by 3 gives us 6. And then we've got this 1 by 3 up here. And that gives us 3. And if we add those, 7 and 6 is 13, plus 3 is 16. So the big point of this is there's a lot of ways to divide it up. You can use rectangles, triangles, trapezoids. The key is that you can get the right answer. Now we're going to look at one other problem, another way to divide things up. So in this one, I'm going to look at it two different ways. Now this particular triangle, notice how every side's on an angle. So I can't do like a 1/2 base times height on this easily because everything's on an angle, and you know, I don't know what the height is. They don't tell me. Like this side, if I did the height, it'd be on an angle like this. And I don't know how long this is. I don't know how long the height is. And so what we're going to do on this first one is I do notice that if I draw straight across here, I can divide this into two triangles. So I have a triangle on top and I have another triangle on the bottom. And both triangles have a base of 3. And in this particular case, this triangle has a height of 1. And this triangle, its height's on the outside, but it's also 1. So I have 1/2 base of 3 times a height of 1. And I have another 1/2 base of 3 times the height of 1. And so each of those give me 1.5, and together my area is 3. Now that's a pretty clever way to do it. Maybe an easier way is to actually draw a rectangle around this. So I'm going to do it this way. If I look at this rectangle, what I have to do then is subtract out the corners. Now the rectangle's super easy. So let's see. This side is 2, and this big side is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got a big rectangle. 2 times 4 equals 8. Now I'm going to subtract the corners. So this first corner is a triangle which is 1 by 2. So you'll see 1 and 2. So it's going to be minus 1/2 a base of 2 and a height of 1. That's going to be minus 1. Then I'm going to go to this triangle here. This one has a base and a height of 2. So I'm going to subtract a 1/2, 2 times 2. And see, that comes out to be a minus 2. And then I've got one more down here. It has a height of 1 and a 1, 2, 3, 4 base. So that's going to be minus 1/2, a base of 4 and a height of 1. And that's another negative 2. And so if I do 8 minus 1 minus 2 minus 2, or if I combine all of those, that's a minus 5. And 8 minus 5 gives me 3. Same answer I had here. So on one of them I split it into two triangles and added them up, and the other I made a rectangle and I found all these three corner rectangles and subtracted them.